Gazmas here with another Grand Archive deck video. This time I'll be providing tips on how to build better decks. Let's get into it. Let's start with deck identity. What is your deck trying to do? In Grand Archive, you're unlikely to see half your deck most games, so it's important to build around a core strategy. You may want to combo like Fire Mages do by playing Ember Song, Erupting Rhapsody and Fireball all in the same turn to deal 20 damage. Alternatively, you may like to build a board state, flood it with units and just swing in for consistent damage turn after turn. Well, personally, my favourite is to try build around one card, like Spirit Blade and Soul. The beauty of Grand Archive is you can take this in many different directions. You may build it around fire and just try filter and draw as many cards as possible to get to it as quickly as possible. Or if you like to play control and like to grind out games, you can pair this with water and then really get into a late game where you can pull this off. Before I wrap up this section, it's good to make sure that your deck synergizes. I'll use Rending Flames and Fire Momentum to demonstrate this. One requires you to banish fire cards from your graveyard, the other requires them in your graveyard to power up the attack. While you can play both of these in a deck, you do need to understand that this will make the deck less consistent. Now let's discuss Floating Memory, the foundation of any Grand Archive deck. It's important to note that not all floating memory is created equally. First, you have unrestricted floating memory, which is a great early play as it allows you to go from base spirit to level 1 without burning a card. The other being class restricted, meaning you need to be that class to use it as floating memory. So it's good to have a balance between both when you're constructing a deck. Tip number 3 is about card cost. You want to strike the balance between low and high costed cards. There is nothing worse than having an opening hand of just high costed cards. This is potentially game losing as it's hard to gain any momentum when you're making one play a turn. Here's my Fire Lorraine list, which shows a nice balance between low and high costed cards. Now there are some cards that break the mold using the keyword efficiency, which have a cost reduction by your champion's level. So when building a deck with these cards, try understand consistently how much are these cards going to cost. Now jumping on to advanced elements. These are some of the most powerful cards in Grand Archive, but with the drawback of only being able to play at level 3, you need to understand that you can't flood your deck with these cards, as it will limit your early to mid game plays. General rule of thumb is having 8 to 10 cards per deck. There are some exceptions to this rule, like Arcane Rye, which gets powered up by these cards due to his level 3 ability. Here's a guide for your material deck. Outside of the slots for your champion, you should use about half to complement your core strategy and the other half as utility. Here are 3 cards that are great in specific scenarios. Safeguard Amulet is great to prevent non-attack damage. Orb of Regret is a mini mulligan, and then Orb of Glitter is a great card to try help you search for a key piece. Okay, the final tip is around basic card probability for specific focus on the opening draws. You can see that with every additional copy of a card in your deck, the chance of drawing in an opening hand increased by around 10%. Therefore, if there is a certain card you need turn 1, then it's best to consider running it as a 4-off. To work out draw probabilities subsequent to the opening hand, you can use a hypogeometric calculator, and I've provided a link to one in the description below. Thanks for watching, and if you like this content, please consider subscribing for more videos. Also, if you would like to discuss deck brews or would like me to review a list, join the Grand Archive Discord and feel free to reach out to me. I'll have a link to the Discord in the description below.